This is a 20-minute upper body and core mat workout with use of props, including 2-pound wrist weights and an extra light and light resistance band loop. Let's get right into it. Starting off by lying flat on your mat, centering yourself top to bottom, left to right to begin with our hundreds. Hugging your knees towards your chest, lifting your head and shoulders up off the mat and bringing your legs into a nice tabletop position here. Arms start at your side with the palms facing down. Instead of our traditional pulsing up and down above and below the hip crease, arms are going to go up to a 90-degree angle here and back down to that hip crease. Pulsing up and down. We're waking up those muscles in the front and back of the shoulder as we go from shoulder flexion and extension up and down, course pulled up and in, trying to bring your chest even closer to your thighs as you keep pumping the arms up and down. Good. We're going to pick up the pace here now, going one and down, up and down, up and down. Keep breathing, engaging that core, getting closer with each pump, challenging yourself by extending out the legs. We've got 4 more here. Good. Keep pumping energy through those fingertips. Up and down. 1 more. Up and down. Good. Hug the knees towards your chest. Relax the head and shoulders down. On this next set of our hundreds, we're going to do another variation, including a bicep curl. So legs are going to start in that same tabletop position. We're going to lift our head and shoulders up off the mat. And arms are going to twist to have the palms facing up towards the ceiling, pulsing the palms towards the shoulder and extending back out. I want energy to be in your arms in each direction. Good. So it's both a tricep and bicep activation, biceps curling, triceps extending out the arms. Good. Picking up the pace again here, extending out the legs if you'd like. Pulsing up and down, up and down. 2, 3. Core pulled up and in, get even closer. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Relax back down. Placing the hands underneath the knee creases to rock up to sit. We're going to start with a variation of our half roll downs. So traditionally, we're going to start with our arms extended out in front of us, creating a C curve in our spine as we start to lean back. Lower abdominals start to kick on right at that point of instability where you feel like you could fall down. And then you're going to sit up nice and tall at the top. I'm going to do a few straight on just like this, leaning back, kick on those abdominals, pull up and in to grow tall in your seat. Let's start to lean back, abdominals pulled up and in, and grow tall. 1 more just like this, and grow tall. You're going to grab one of your resistance bands, trying with a harder one to see how much it's going to challenge your shoulders. And then you might have to modify to a lighter resistance to get a little bit more range here. We want to focus on mobility and strength, but you need mobility first to build up strength. Starting by leaning back, that same variation, we're going to twist to the right side. We're going to pulse the arms out so my palms are facing down in the strap. And then I'm going to twist back to center and sit up nice and tall. Start to lean back, twist towards the left, move the hands away from one another, back to center, twist back and sit up tall. Good. So the motion that's happening at my hands, they're facing down and I'm bringing them farther apart from one another. Leaning back, twisting to the right, pulsing out. We're getting some nice scapular stabilizers engaging as we pulse the arms out to the side. Elbows stay straight, twisting to the left, core pulled up and in, pulse out, back to center, sit up tall. And leaning back, twist to the right. If you're shaking, that's all right. And twist back to center and sit up tall. Leaning back, twisting to the left. We're getting a nice activation of muscles that we don't always think about that really are holding our shoulder towards our rib cage. And pulse out, back to center and up. 1 more to the left. Twisting, pulsing out, back to center and rolling all the way up. Good. We're going to transition into a full roll up. So we're keeping this traditional, lying flat on your mat to start, arms extended up towards the ceiling. Starting with inhaling to lift your head and shoulders up off the mat. Exhaling to reach all the way up and through. Arms stay in parallel with your legs. Rolling up 1 vertebrae at a time to seated. And then rolling all the way down. Flat on your mat. Inhaling head and shoulders. Exhale, lifting all the way up and through, reaching energy through your fingertips. Inhaling to sit up tall. And exhale, roll all the way back down. Good. Inhale, head and shoulders. Exhale, reach all the way through. Cores pulled up and into, lengthen through your spine here. Inhale, restack your spine. Exhale, roll all the way back down, one vertebrae at a time. Really try to control that lower, even as we transition next into half time on our next roll up. So on our next set, we're going to inhale to reach all the way up and through. Exhale, roll all the way down. Inhale, reach. And exhale to roll all the way down, one vertebrae at a time. And inhale, reach up and through. And exhale to roll all the way back down. Good. We're going to hug our knees towards our chest to transition next into our double leg stretches. I'm going to grab onto a lighter resistance band, pulling my knees towards my chest. Palms are going to be flat down, but within that resistance band. So they're just about around my fingers where they start at my hand. I'm going to start to hug my knees towards my chest. Arms are up and over about ankle height here. I'm going to reach out opposite arms and legs in a high diagonal and start to pull down on that resistance band out to the side and release that pull to come back into a hug knee position. Hugging in and exhaling all the way through, getting the knees closer to the chest. Inhale, reach up and out. Pulse down. And exhale, pull in. Inhale, reach to pull. Exhale, pull in. So we're transitioning that upper, so we're progressing that double leg stretch exercise by adding in a lat pull down here. So we should feel that activation down and behind our shoulders and our backs here. Cores pulled up and in. Energy through both the arms and hands. And pull. Good. Hug the knees towards the chest. Relax the head down. Looking right to left, stretching out the neck. Looking yes and no. Before we transition next into our crisscrosses. We're going to get rid of the resistance band for these, bringing the elbows out to the side, arms back to where your head meets your neck. We're going to lift our head and shoulders up off the mat, extending out the left leg in a high diagonal and twisting towards that right knee, reaching out that left arm in between your legs to lift and pulse 1, 2, twisting up and over to the opposite side to pulse for 1, 2, lift and switch, pulse 1, 2, lift. 2, switch, pulse 1, 2, lift, energy through that arm that's reaching as far as it can, leg to leg. Getting up even higher, we're going to transition out of these pulses into just a switch, left to right, twisting up and over with each transition. Up and over, up and over. One more each side. Good, and hug your knees towards your chest, relax down. Stretching out through your arms and legs. We're going to flip on over to our tummies to get a nice prone press up stretch. Meeting me here on your stomachs, tucking your elbows in, palms flat on the mat. Anchor the pelvis down and push through the hands to get a nice stretch here. And come on back down. Feel free to get a sip of water here. Pushing up through the hands. Breathe through this stretch. And you're going to turn around and meet me in seated on your mat. Meeting me in a tall seated position, legs stretched out in front of you for our saw next. Bringing out the arms into a T position, close enough towards your center that you can still see your fingers if you wiggle them in your peripheral vision. Twisting over to the right side, I'm lengthening through my arms here, reaching up and over, core is active as I pulse here, lining up the left pinky finger with the right pinky toe. Twisting to the left, reaching up and over, right pinky finger lining up with the left pinky toe. Lift and switch to reach for 1, 2, back through center, up and over, twisting for 1, 2, back through center. Lifting up and over for 1, 2, back to the center, and reaching. Really feeling that nice twisting happening through the spine, stretching through those hamstrings, Keeping this active by not losing that abdominal activation as you're reaching. Good, we've got one more to each side. Keep that reach lengthening through those arms. And back to the left. 2 reach. Good, we're gonna come back into center, transitioning into our neck pull exercise next. I'm gonna bend each of my knees with my feet flat on the mat here. Elbows are gonna come out to the side. Arms are supporting underneath where the head meets the neck. So for our neck pull, we start with a nice straight spine. Core is pulled up and in as you lean back, maintaining that straight spine. Right into that point where you feel like you need to fold over, you're going to do exactly that, but with control. So I'm right at the edge of my seat here. I'm gonna start to roll down one vertebrae at a time, laying all the way down flat, arms extended up towards the ceiling to roll all the way back up. Rebending the knees, elbows out to the side, starting to lean back right into that point of instability and curving to roll down one vertebrae at a time. Arms are straight, start to roll back up, bend your knees, elbows out to the side, start to lean back. Lean, lean, lean. Try to get even farther, deeper into this lean before you roll one vertebrae at a time. Should really feel those low abdominals kicking on. Start to roll back up. Good, we've got 2 more here. Really challenge yourself here midway through your workout. Core pulled up and in. Hold here and roll. One more, last one, best one. Elbows out to the side. Good, sit up nice and tall before you start that lean. Leaning here. Holding, holding, holding. Go even farther back and roll all the way down. Hug your knees towards your chest. Place your hands underneath the knee creases to rock up to sit. We're going to turn on over onto our stomachs for our swan prep. Starting here, making a pillow with your hands underneath the forehead. Our core is going to start by being pulled up and in as we always want, and the pelvis is glued to the mat. We're going to start by hovering up our head, hands, and hearts off the mat while maintaining that core activation. Holding here for 1, 2, 3, and lower back down. Good, core's pulled up and in. Pelvis is glued to the mat. Start to hover up and off your mat for 1, 2, 3. Good, breathing through this. Core's pulled up and in, anchor down the pelvis. Start to hover up. Holding here. 3, 2, get even higher. 1, 2, lower. Good, we've got one more just like this. Anchor. Core pulls up and in. Start to hover. For 1, 2, 3, lower with control. Place the palms near your shoulders and push through the heels of the hands to come into an active rest pose here. Good, breathe through this, keeping your core pulled up and in to get even more of a stretch through those back extensors. We're going to come back into our swan pose with a modification here, adding in our shoulder plugs. So we've talked about the shoulder plug in previous workouts. It's where we start to activate those scapular stabilizers to bring our shoulders down and back, lifting the elbows up off the mat to start. That's going to be one of our new cues for our next set of our swans. Meeting me on your stomach. Now, starting with the hands behind where the neck meets your head, activating your core, pulling up and in, anchoring the pelvis down, initiate that shoulder plug and start to hover your head, hands, and heart up off the mat. Holding here for 3, 2, 1, lower with control. Anchor the pelvis down, core pulls up and in, feet don't lift off the ground, they stay glued. Activate the shoulders and lift up for 1, 2, 3, lower with control. Good, we've got 2 more just like this. Plug the shoulders, core's up and in, start to hover. Hold for 3, 2, try to get even higher, challenge yourself on these last 2, and lower down. Good, anchor the pelvis, core's pulled up and in. Activate your shoulders, lift up the highest that you can get here without straining your back. Holding for 3, 2, 1, and lower down. Push through the heels of the hands, come back into that active rest pose. Feel free to move your hips side to side to get more of a stretch on one side over the other. And then let's add a little bit of a rotation here, lifting one arm up and over behind you. Breathe through this, keeping that reaching arm active. And twist to the other side. I'm opening up my chest here to reach. Good. And we're going to meet in a seated position with our knees bent and our feet flat on the mat for our side arm series. So rather than our leg series here, we're going to transition into an arm series. This is going to be a fun new one. Starting with the arms out to the side. We're going to be starting with a movement forward and back, just like our side kick series. And then the optional modifications to add in a flexed wrist to move forward and pointed wrist down to go back. So we're working on wrist mobility here too by going through wrist extension and wrist flexion. Other optional modifications here is to add a slight lean back, similar to our neck pull, but not quite as extensive, just to keep our core really active during this exercise. So I've got all flipped up, but it's flexing forward and pointing the wrist to go back down. Flexing, come forward, and pointing down to go back. Good, and if you're still leaning back here, then you're a champion at this point. And then before we transition into the next one, you can come forward. Now our arms are going to stay out to the side. On our next set, we're going to flex the wrist to go up, and then point the wrist down to come back down. Flexing up, and pointing down. Good, keep going here. Add the lean if you want. And point back down. Flexing up. And if this is starting to feel like too much on your wrist, feel free to just let the arms be straight. Let the wrist be straight. But the rest of you is straight here too. You want to keep the arms straight to keep those triceps activated too. 2 more lifts and lowers. And then if you're leaning back like I am, come forward again before we start with our arm circles. So the arm circles are going to be great for all of our deltoids here. So we're going to start with a clockwise circle and then reverse it for another 5. So refine your seated position, arms out to the side, starting with our clockwise circles for 5, 4, energy through the fingertips, 3, 2, and 1. Start to reverse that circle. Good. Keeping those edges of the circle smooth. You've got 2 more here. Good, and shake out your arms. We're going to start to lay all the way down to prep for our teasers. We've got 2 more exercises left. Let's finish really nice and strong. Starting with arms extended out towards the ceiling. We're going to roll all the way up into a seated position with our arms stretched out in a high diagonal. And arms are in the opposite high diagonal at the top. If this feels too much on your core and back at this point in your routine, you can keep your legs planted down or only stretching out one leg at a time. Start to roll on up into your teaser, holding at the top here. Whew. And my left arm is shaking so much more than the right, so I'm glad I'm getting this workout in today. And start to roll all the way back down, 1 vertebrae at a time. Good, a little fun fact. The first time I filmed this series, sound quality was so bad that this is the second time I'm doing this morning, rolling all the way up into your teaser. So that might explain the shaking a little bit more. I'm getting a great workout in this morning. Holding here for 3, 2, 1. Roll all the way back down, hugging your knees towards your chest. Good, we've got 1 more teaser left here. Let's make it our strongest one yet, holding for 5 at the top and adding in an optional modification of some overhead reaching of your arms. I'll show you at the top. Start to roll up. Good, meeting me at the top, reaching the arms up and overhead and coming back down. So notice how my pelvis almost came right out of alignment as I did that because I'm throwing off my balance at the top here by going up and down. Good, see if you can do 2 more. Holding, and then lower down as slow as you possibly can to finish here. Whew. Hug the knees towards your chest. Hands underneath the knee creases to rock up and switch over to a quadruped position. We're going to finish with some front support work. So my elbows are straight, shoulders are over my wrists, and I'm going to start to straighten out one leg at a time into a plank position. Holding here, pushing through the mat with my palms. Energy through the backs of the heels. Core is pulled up and in. Holding here for 5, 4, 3, get even longer, 2, 1. Lower down one knee at a time. Good, feel free to do a couple quadruped rock backs while you're here before we do another set. I'm just moving my hips forward and back. Staying moving. Good, we're gonna do 2 more of these planks, straightening out one leg at a time. Pushing through the palms of the hand, core is pulled up and in. Don't let your hips drop. Pull them up and off. Holding here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lower down, one knee at a time. Good. Optional progression on this last set to do a few push-ups, bending at the elbows, hugging them in towards your body, just like I'm demonstrating here with bent knees. Straightening out one leg at a time. See if you want to challenge yourself on this last set. Core's pulled up and in. Energy through your fingertips and the backs of the heels. Lengthening through the spine. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good. Pike the hips up. Walking the hands back towards your legs. Meet me in a ragdoll position here, grabbing opposite elbows. Really stretching out that back. Hanging side to side. Breathe through this. Good. And while you're here, feel free to roll out your wrists. Good. Reaching the arms up and behind. And forward. Stretching out whatever you need. Good. Feel free to do any more mobility work that you feel like is necessary. That's the end of this workout. I hope you got a great exercise series in this morning. Have a good rest of your day.